Greetings, welcome to the Public Works Committee meeting on September 21st, and it is noon in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Kiki Miller is with me, and Mr. Gookin is on a family leave right now, so we're going to kind of hop to it and get with this. We're looking for approval of Police Department Canine Surplus. Dave Arger, give us the story.
Good afternoon, council members. We come to you today, a little bit of sad note, and it's time to retire Canine Pico. And while the staff report talks about it as a surplus, technically it's city property. It's hard to think of Pico being surplus. Pico is a 9-year-old Belgian Malinois that's been with us for about 6.5 years. The reason for the recommendation for his retirement is the fact that he has an eye cyst that is growing to where he's lost most of the vision in his right eye, and he has some arthritis in his spine that's causing him, we can tell, discomfort and could be pain from what the handler said. And so at this point in time, based on the veterinarians, the handler, and just the observation, it's time for him to retire. And you know, the dogs form a tight bond with the handler. They're together all the time. And I don't know if you saw the video that we put out on Facebook last winter, but he even takes his sled to work with him. And this is a dog that's just had some YouTube fame, and he's a great dog. He's made some wonderful captures, some drug finds. But at this time, our recommendation is that we allow him to retire with Detective Nisley, who's been his handler for the past 6.5 years. What would go along with that would be any of the toys and just some of the dog material and the kennel that has already been built at her property so that she can maintain him. It would help in the event that we had larger medical expenses. The city wouldn't have to pay those. Detective Nisley takes over all the care and responsibility for the dog at that time. So at this point, we ask for approval to recommend that we, I hate the word surplus, but we retire Canine Pico and allow him to live with his handler. And if it's approved, we're planning a little bit of a ceremony with some video and some pictures of things just to show what they've worked on over the years.
Nice. Questions?
Just a couple things, and we kind of touched base on this a little bit. One is that I want to just express my appreciation. This is above and beyond duty to accept the responsibility of one of these canine officers, knowing that when that officer retires, it needs to go with the officer who had been the handler. And so that's a big challenge to accept. So I really appreciate that some are able to step up and do that and understand that it's a lifetime commitment, and that these dogs, as you explained, they can't really be surplus to the general public. They're specific and highly trained and not really I think you described it as a toddler that never grows up.
Correct.
And they're not dogs that you could just go out and say, hey, adopt a police dog. So
right.
I think that's a tremendous commitment, and I'm really appreciative of that. The one question I had, is there a replacement budget plan to put another dog, and how does this affect the work that Pico was doing?
So at this point in time, we've kind of been planning for this because you never know when the health is going to get to the point where they have to retire. Back in, it was either 2014 or 15, I forget which one, when it finally came to fruition, one of the churches here locally in Coeur d'Alene, I don't know, it closed. I don't know if a church closes, but they stopped having that. And so they liquidated their assets, and there was a quite sizable donation that was made in the name of a new canine.
Oh.
And that donation amount has been sitting on the books until such time as we need it. I believe there's $50,000 that was set aside for canine training, any of the associated equipment. New police canines on the low end are about $15,000 and can go up to about $20,000. Generally speaking, they're imported from Europe and they're trained, and so you're getting this just ready to go dog. So we're going to use that donation money to try to bring it up to speed. The car can be used for the next canine handler, the specialized car, so there shouldn't be a need for that. We really don't see that there's going to be anything into our general funds or our operating funds to impact that. We should be able to cover those costs ongoing.
Okay, that's great. And so then you'll be able to continue that work with a new
There's going to be some time delay. We're in the testing process to test for a new handler. We've had a few officers put in for that, so then they're going to go through an interview process. Then you actually have to take the handler to go acquire that dog because it has to be that fit. They have to work with each other.
Right.
Then there is 6 weeks of patrol training and an additional 4 weeks of narcotics training. The dog may already have it, but you have to teach the, we call it the chauffeur for the dog, how to work with the dog and how to work. So we're going to be maybe 4 to 5 months out before that team is ready to hit the street running.
Okay, so no amendments coming back to replace that. So great, that's all I had on that.
I love chauffeur. That's a great one.
Sometimes the dogs do the smartest one in the car.
No. Along those lines, so the last handler doesn't stay a handler. It's about the relationship.
She could have stayed a handler, but after the time that she had in with that dog, like you say, there's a large commitment, and she wants to move to another area within the department. Otherwise, she could have stayed there, and we would have gone and procured another dog for her, but she chose to step out. 6.5 years is a long time to be with that dog, and your days off are really not your days off. You're still working with that animal and taking care of it, and it's like Councilmember Miller said, there's a lot of responsibility there, and she's not a responsible person, but we've asked a lot for her out of the last 6.5 years, and I think she's ready to move to the next step in her career.
And what's the normal run for an animal like that? What's the service time?
Usually anywhere from 5 to 8 years, depending on what they've been through. I've been around dogs that have lost teeth due to whether it's biting or teeth issues. There can be hip issues. Generally speaking, you'll get a dog at about 1.5 years to 2.5 years, somewhere in that window. So the fact that Pico made it to 9 years of age is actually pretty good. Couple years longer than other places. We don't have some of the heat that create issues for the dogs. While it's a colder climate, it's not really that bad on the dogs. They're pretty good with that. But to make it to 9 years is pretty good.
Nice. Well, anything else, Geek?
Nope.
That'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the request of the police department to surplus K9 Pico and transfer ownership to his handler, Detective Amy, did I say it right? Nisley, silent K, together with the residential kennel harnesses and toys purchased by the city.
Okay. And since we don't have a quorum, I'm going to second it, and we're just going to put it on the consent calendar. Fair enough? All right.
I think
Thanks,
it's
Thank
fine
you.
with that.
Chief. Sorry, Captain. All right, approval of addendum for Architects West. This is Mike Becker with some changes.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to present wastewater's report on our amendment for a contract for Architects West. There we go. First, a little history. Back in June of 2019, the council approved a professional services agreement with Architects West. This was for the design renovations of this building. We'll refer to this as Building A. And as you can see, it was originally constructed in 1972, and then it was added on in 1984. This is where we house our operations staff at the treatment plant, and all of our controls for operating our treatment plant are based out of this building. Fast forward to today, we had COVID-19 and some other reasons which kind of delayed the project, gave us another opportunity to evaluate other options. But based on the Architects West's initial concept, we need roughly about 6,400 square feet of new building. And if we use the existing footprint of the existing building, that's 2 stories plus an unfinished basement. After much studying and what have you, I started looking around, and I met with our wastewater superintendent for brainstorming ideas of what we can do differently. Currently, we have this building right here. It's right next to the admin building. That's basically 5 bays of warm shell. And we were thinking, hey, this building is non-expandable, so what could we do differently? So after much brainstorming, we concluded that what we could do is build a new collections building up at Compost. This site is currently vacant. It's not being used. It's already fenced and gated. We have existing utilities right there. We have existing fiber for communications. There's multiple ingress and egress options. It also will enable us to build an expandable building right there. So I did a concept drawing of what it would look like on the property. As you can see, we have, okay, where'd the mouse go? There you go. We have our compost building right here, and we have the water department's new building right here. So what we're proposing is to build this 140 by 62 square foot building, 62 foot building that has the potential for an expansion as the city continues to grow. Again, all the utilities are already here. We did have a project review on this location, and we got positive results back from staff. Another benefit that we would have by relocating collections from the treatment plant here up to the compost facilities, now we've centrally located the collections crew, which spends the majority part of their day out on the streets. So we'll also be able to increase the office spaces up there, as well as create an environmentally safe building for the crew to progress through. Heated shop for storage and apparatus vehicles. And we believe this will also encourage and reduce travel time and response time of our collections crew. So what do we do with this building? Well, this building just happens to be a big enough size that we could actually move the treatment plant operations into this building. And as you can see, it's right next to the admin building. We looked at, okay, what can we do? Again, it's a warm shell. It's no different than having an exterior building already constructed. We're just going to do TI improvements inside. We can increase the locker room spaces for the crews, increase the control environment, as well as provide office spaces that are currently scattered throughout the treatment plant. Here's looking at the interior from the other side. So this slide shows the benefits. What we're able to do is, here's the admin building. We'd essentially be moving treatment plant operations from this building up to this building. We'll be able to store chemicals and stuff in this building, because now this would move up to the compost site. Currently, we're storing those materials in this building, which could be used as the mechanical shop area. And then one of the great advantages of this proposal is that this frees up this space right here for our next influent upgrade project. Currently, you can see how we're really congested down in this area with all our different operations here at the treatment plant. So, we sat down with the architect and we said, okay, what if we do this project? Well, there wasn't, it has a similar cost as before. The original estimate was for $2.3 million to renovate that existing building. So we said, okay, what if we build this building up at compost and then did TIs in this building? They said that we'd be coming in at a comparable cost. So we were already planning on having a 2-year project with this. One of the advantages, again, besides freeing up that real estate, is that now we've encouraged central location of treatment plant operations within the building itself. We can abandon that other building at a later date. So at the same costs, where's the downfall sides? Well, there would be an amendment to the contract, and I have it shown right here. Again, what we did is we started out weighing the benefits and the cons of this, and we decided that there's a tremendous amount of benefit while the costs are equivalent, and we would have to amend our contract to cover those additional costs. So here's the breakdown of what it would, our amended costs. Our original contract was for $168,000. So we've already spent $24,000. We were able to use the information that Architects West has provided us already to look at our options. The new design total comes to $170. If we apply the same credit and then the amendment total that Architects West is coming in, plus a geotech evaluation of the ground, we're asking for $29,587. So that is our recommendation to staff. There's a tremendous amount of benefits to the city, and we believe that we won't have to amend our budget because we already budgeted for this. And with that, I'll entertain any questions.
I just have a couple questions, if I could. So, this is going next to the dispatch center down at the compost area, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And it looks like on the map that you've got quite a distance between there. You didn't want to push it over and expand north rather than east. You show that map?
Yes,
No.
I'll get to that later. Interesting. Okay, we'll do this the old-fashioned way. Talking about this picture right
Correct,
here?
yeah. The
So
distance-
you're curious about expanding it right here to the
Yeah,
east?
just wondering, is that expandable there, or is that your dirt?
Right here, we have parks that has their trees and what have you, and then we have a
Okay.
berm right there. So the advantage of going this route is then we've made the usable space available where we can expand this way. If we go north-south with the building, we're very limited, knowing that we have to, the compost facility is going to be expanding in this direction as well.
Oh, yeah.
Along those same lines, what happens with the garage shop that you have collections in now? That's going to become offices and you're moving that, and are we paying the architect to design that, or are you guys doing that in-house?
We're paying the architect. I've already laid out the concept drawings based on the architect's square footages that he's provided. And basically, I've gotten staff's comments on there. And so what we can do is just hand the architect, this is what we want. This is roughly where the building's at. Now make it happen, do construction drawings, what have you. So yes, they're going to do that. But we're able to salvage some of the equipment off the collection doors, such as those big overhead doors.
Right.
We'll just take them up to this new building.
Nice.
And then we'll just put glass windows in there because it's basically a block building.
And it's relatively, it was built along with the base, wasn't it? Or was
Yes.
it just relatively new, I would think, in the last?
Some of the yes, it is. And some of the advantages that weren't discussed here is there's already fiber optics going into that building. So one of the key things that I probably should bring to your attention is the logistics of, if we did the original plan, we have to set up a trailer for the crews to operate out of and have locker rooms, dressing facilities, break rooms, as well as run fiber optic and all the electrical lines up to that trailer temporarily. So we're saving money there. I asked Casey, our head plant operator, if he could still work out of that building for another couple of years. He says, shy of the floor falling through, you bet. And so we've got pretty positive thumbs up for this. We just need to get council's blessing.
So this adjustment in the architects covers the remodel of the old building and the new building. Is that correct?
And we do want to do some geotech out there. And so originally the geotech came in about $6,000. And one of the reasons why you're getting a revised estimate is if we go out there and do the digging ourselves, he'll knock off $3,500 off that.
Isn't that what the water department did too, when they built there?
Yes,
Right
my
next door to
understanding
you?
is water department did that at a later date. I'm trying to do it beforehand before we get much further down the road.
Okay.
So,
I like the idea of moving them out just because it makes more sense to have to come all the way into town, sort of central locating. Good job. Kiki?
I just had a couple things I wanted to be clear on. So the cost for the actual facility is still going to come in at around 2.3 million is what the architects have said for this whole project.
Yeah, it was, actually came in 2,000 over.
Oh, wow. So
But
that's not
2.3,
changing.
you know.
And then this is just the fees. One of the things I appreciate is that you're kind of in a footprint that's not changeable down there where the plant is. So being able to plan ahead for growth and expansion without, finding new land is really important. So I'm glad you're being heads up and, thinking forward on that. During this COVID time, a lot of business owners I've talked to have kind of retooled the way a lot of their people are working. Have you guys addressed any of that as you're looking at facility growth? Is there any things that you've found during COVID that you've said, hey, we could continue on afterwards of having somebody work some days from home and maybe not have to have more buildings to house more people? Has that been in any of your discussions with your design team?
That has. Our admin staff has been employing that concept of working from home as well as periodically working, and similar to like shifts at the plant. Now, with operations, it's a little bit different. It still requires the same amount of staff. Keep in mind that collections spends a majority part of their time, not here, but out in the streets with their big trucks and maintenance vehicles. The plant staff, very similar as well. They have to go to a different location within the plant to grab samples or tweak this here or there, and they go back. But the controls is one of the big things. Keep in mind that the original building that was built there in 1972 was for a plant 1/4 the size that we are right now. And so we are packed in there. And so any space that we can give the crew, they'll greatly appreciate, obviously. But we put a lot of thought into this up front. That 6,400 square feet was based on where we are today, where we think we're going to be in the future, and what if scenarios along the way. So yes, we have considered that.
Good. Okay. We'll talk about the job costing thing on another day, but.
Oh, that's really great. And this is going to come to council. You'll present this again, and hopefully our little questions will give you a little bit more. So
Yep.
we'll put that on the agenda.
I think so.
Agenda item?
Yeah,
Everyone
so
needs
we
to
get
see
to
this.
see you next week again. Good job.
Wonderful.
I like the forethought. Really means a lot.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, guys.
Well, followed by Mike. Mike, this has something to do with wastewater tertiary loan funding. Mike Anderson, wastewater superintendent. No pictures, Mike?
So, yeah, no pictures on this one, it's just a contract, but, or a loan agreement. So, if you'll recall, we had some requirements put forth during our through our discharge permit, saying, okay, you're going to have to treat the wastewater that's flowing to that plant better than before to further remove nutrients. We looked into that and found this option of the tertiary treatment, which turned out to be really good at the cost of about $20 million. We were able to utilize our existing equipment. Originally, we thought we were going to spend $38 million, honestly, and have to build a whole separate train to treat the wastewater and sort of blend it at the end. But yeah, like I said, fortunately, we were able to do it for quite a bit cheaper. But still, it's $20 million. It's a lot of money. We were able to get a loan through the Idaho DEQ, the State Revolving Fund, which offers a low-interest loan. It's 2.75% interest over the next 20 years. And at the time when the project is done and all the paperwork is completed, we need to issue a bond for this loan, which is what is going to come forward to council in 2 weeks' time because of the way things lay out. But the next council meeting will be bringing forth a request for or a supplemental ordinance. The wastewater has an ordinance existing to for bonds, so we're going to add a supplemental ordinance onto that existing ordinance and request council's approval to bond for this loan as required in the loan documents that were approved by council. So, in 2015, council said, yes, let's go for this loan. It's $20 million, and that paid for the build-out of that process. So it paid for installing membranes as a tertiary, a third stage of treatment. It also added some primary and secondary clarification. So our first and second stage of treatment, we also added some redundancies there. In 2018, we came forward with a request for a $500,000 amendment to that, both through council and to the Department of Environmental Quality, if they would be willing to issue us another $500,000 in loan. And everybody agreed. That was to pay for our overhead bridge crane, which is used to service these membranes. And I'm pleased to say that the project has been working out great. We've been treating since 2018 and hit all of our marks that we're required to hit, originally by EPA, and now the state is actually in charge of our discharge permit. But we've been able to not only meet the discharge requirements with this money well spent, but now we've also had some time due to planning. Our permit, we said, okay, we're going to want to do this, but this is all brand new technology, or relatively brand new as far as the industry is concerned. Give us some time to try to work it a little bit, and the way it worked out, we've got several more years yet to try to tune what it is that we're doing. We have an intermediate requirement. It's not as stringent as it's going to be, so it allows us to play with our chemical doses and things like that to try to optimize things. So I'm pleased to say that it's worked out very well, but and displeased to say it cost the city $20 million, but I'm happy that it saved about $18 million over the alternatives. And we're treating the wastewater wonderfully. It's a pretty low interest rate loan and allows us, there's a lot of benefits to it. If you look into it, I mentioned in the staff report some of those things that aren't money related. When it comes to we were required to use American iron and steel. We couldn't go to use foreign steels, disabled business requirements, all these things that were put forth in that loan that were, quite honestly, a pain in the butt when it comes to actually building. But it's beneficial to the community, so we were real pleased with that.
I have just a quick couple questions before Kiki gets in you. So in 2015, $20 million, I remember it well. We're not doing another 20.
No.
This is the same 20 we okayed in 15 and did all the things that we were going to do, and it's working out really well. So what are we doing with this? This is coming around again, but it's not new 20 million, it's the original.
It is the original, yes. We're, as part of the loan agreement, at the finalization of the project, once the project is actually constructed and all the different agencies says, yep, you did it just right, we're at that stage now. And the loan agreement said, at this point, the city is required to issue a bond or a promissory note.
Okay.
It says, yep, we agree to pay this, and there's an amortization schedule that says twice a year you will pay $650,000 over the next 20 years. Okay. So it's just a promissory note to say we will pay for it. Like I said, the council, and as you mentioned, council already approved the loan. It's really just the next stage of the process.
And the impact on our flushers, that is worked into that. That's why we get raises every 5 years, 3 years, that wastewater gets a bump in the rate?
It's every year. It's annually every April.
Okay.
I believe it's April into May.
Little bits, right?
We've decided, yeah, we've looked at it and said, okay, every 5 years we'll look at the rates and say, okay, we have, this is our requirements and this is our revenue. We have to mesh them together. So in our last rate analysis, we took this into consideration and said, we are going to have this debt required to pay to meet these requirements that the EPA is saying you need to meet. So we were able to meet them and as well as meet the revenue requirements through our last rate study.
So, and at this point, right now, we do have a discharge permit?
Yes, sort of. So yes, we do have a discharge permit, and it's absolutely legal. I don't mean to make that sound arbitrary, but
Right.
it's actually, it's administratively extended right now. It expired almost a year ago now, November of 2019, in the transition between, which isn't unusual. I don't want to make it sound like that's weird. It's very normal. And in the transition between EPA governing our permit to now the state governing our permit, the state is handling other permits. And it actually works out, for us, it's actually rather simple, because our original permit, although it's only good for 5 years, it said years 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you need to do this. So it actually kind of spelled out what we'd be doing right now anyway. So, yeah, we do have a discharge permit.
So when I pay to flush, when I pay the wastewater, I'm paying for the service, the upkeep of the thing, and that loan. Is that correct?
Correct. Soup to nuts, from the pipe in your street, maintaining that pipe,
Okay.
all the way through the plant to the effluent,
Okay. Plus the 20 million payback.
including that.
Okay. Thank you. Kiki, go.
I-
Sorry.
It's okay, I'm not afraid. I had a couple things, and I briefly mentioned the one item, which was Section 5, Item D. And I think the answer to that was, just for clarity, what that referred to was that at any time that the community receives $750,000 more in federal monies, it would trigger an audit of some type. So I think that you were going to take a look at that, maybe bring it back as part of the staff report to council as to if that did occur and if that's going to be an additional expense if that has to happen. And so council will have an opportunity to weigh in on that piece of it, because it'll be there. Wait, I see flailing in the back.
Well, are
Let's come
we
up.
on Zoom? There's somebody out there zooming? Okay.
Troy has info. Thank you.
Councilmember, that's a great question. Sorry to interrupt. That is the special audit that we annually do, thanks to grants across the program. So it wouldn't be a additional expense because we anticipating getting it every year. So they go in and audit all of those grants that come in when we are triggered by that dollar amount. So that's common language in
Okay.
the contract, and we did one this year and the year before and the year before that.
That's what I didn't know, if this new state funding thing was that we got this year was different
Nope.
in this case, and that's where
Great technical question.
okay. And then the other thing, maybe this is a Troy question, so maybe you don't want to go very far. This is This is a 2.75%, but it's an amortized amount. It's not a variable, it's a fixed rate on there. And are there penalties if a prepayment comes up, or is that's an option with this bond?
May I launch? Yes, it's 20-year fixed rate, fully amortized, no prepayment penalties. Awesome piece of financing. And to step back a half a step, basically we were in a construction loan during this whole period. Again, there's no major expenses during that, so it is definitely a favorable loan for the city. And most of the times, we have never refinanced these. Maybe, I am looking at a what-if scenario, but this is such a great piece of paper that redoing them, even in today's environment, is tough to find significant savings. But no prepayment penalty, fixed rate of interest, no loan fees.
Straightforward. Okay, that's all I had. So
perfect, huh?
I think, I think council needs to hear this. I'm obviously that it's scheduled to do that, so clearing up a few more things for them would be great.
Yes.
Might help to do that historical perspective of when things were done, just
Maybe a picture.
so you don't feel like you're on the
Of the
spot.
big yellow crane, everyone will go, we remember that
Faces.
now, that
Yeah.
$500,000 yellow piece of equipment, right?
I've got a great video in the making here. Well,
Great.
yes, on the raw footage field.
Thank you, guys,
Thank you.
appreciate
Thanks,
that.
But thank you.
Well, we saved the best one for last, you know, this is Tim's last hurrah. Tim is retiring from the street departments, and he's gonna kind of bring us up to date, I think, or just tell us history. What is this about, Tim? You gonna tell us how you work, huh?
Pictures.
Little everything here, sir.
Pictures, that's what we like.
I know that. You've told me that many times over the years. So I'm here before you today, Chairman, council members, to talk about a team that I think is exceptional at what they do. They lead a lot of departments around the country and firsts and what ifs, and we'll move on with that. So our mission is to provide a safe, efficient, and well-maintained systems for vehicles, bicyclists, pedestrian traffic that will benefit our residents and the visitors that come to our city. But really, our motto is can do, will do, come to the rescue. That phrase was turned by a former employee that kind of embraced it, and everybody in this department embraces that feeling. You know, there isn't, you've heard me many times over the years, if you need a new roof on the library, we can put it up. You know, we'll figure it out. Within the department, there's I'm going to call 7 divisions, even though we're all one team, and 36 full-time employees. That's engineering. We manage the drainage utility out of that department. We do the asphalt and right-of-way work, signal and electrical work, signage and pavement markings, concrete ADA compliance, and vehicle maintenance. We'll start with the engineering team. They are either part of or liaisons to the project reviews, plan reviews, inspections, traffic calming, encroachment permits, signage. Chris is involved in the pedestrian bike committee. We do a sidewalk reimbursement program and vacation requests. For the last 3 years, we've had talk about the Ironwood Emma Medina corridor. That was part of an ITD Kootenai Health partnership. Celtis Way corridor, Kathleen Avenue is ongoing. We're in final design in that and starting to look at purchasing right-of-way there. Government Way, Hanley to Prairie, Northwest Boulevard Signal Corridor, which Todd and crew finished this spring. Industrial Way Signal project that Chris and Todd managed. Right now we're working on the Atlas Millside corridor. We're actively involved in that, and the health corridor traffic study. Chris is on that group that's doing that work. And La Crosse Avenue, you know, we'll probably, I'm not sure, but I would say it is a priority now for Ignite and the council to get that going. Stormwater management. This is something that we've wrestled with for many, many, many years. That's actually a picture of Northwest Boulevard in the early 2000s. We had a former public works director. He used to talk about the 100 points of light. I could tell you that we've conquered all those. I mean, we've got areas around town that we're still working on. Chris and Kim have done an incredible job on that, and we've really come a long ways in the last 15 years. The utility manages the permit system, public education, the maintenance of the conveyance system, repair of infrastructure, and a big one right now is doing those utility locates all over town. This is some of the kind of the work. one that we're excited about on the far bottom right there, Chris and Kim were able to get a permit from ITD. We're putting together a project right now where we can eliminate an outfall and probably start working on that this fall going into next spring. The utility also manages the Adopt a Street litter program now. This is something that we've had out there probably close to 16, 18 years, and there's over 250 volunteers still in that program, even though we've done a lot of work, a lot of curb and gutter now. We don't have near as much shoulders as we used to have around town, but this is a very, very good project or program, I should say, and it works well. Pavement maintenance. You've over the years given us many tools to help us with this. We average about 1,500 tons of asphalt every late spring through early fall. The last couple of years, about 3 years, we've been really working to put a chip seal program together to get into some of these residential areas that we're challenged to get in. There's over 550 center lane miles in this town, and it's hard to be everywhere at once. So that's something that we've worked pretty hard, and we've gotten, probably a tenth of our residential areas chip sealed in the last 3 years, to where it can really help us get caught up. Signals and electrical. This is something that we put together, worked with administration and council. We saw a need to bring this in-house, and I'm happy to say that your next director of streets and engineering came to us in this program, Todd, if he's here. Now our challenge is to replace Todd Fusier. I mean, we're looking at this, and there's probably nobody in the Northwest that knows as much about signals as Todd does. So we're actively looking to recruit someone to put in this position. But we manage over 46 traffic signals. We do have city-owned street lights that we manage. Todd also works with the locators to get this done. Over the years, we've signed agreements with ITD where we manage the 95 corridor traffic, or not traffic lights, but lights. And so every year we're replacing some of those bulbs with LED bulbs and moving forward. Pavement marking, center line, as you see, I mean, it's grown immensely over the last decade of the amount of crosswalks and parking lots and stalls that we're painting over the town. I'm happy to say that, talking to our paint guy, that we're pretty much done for the season. We've gotten over everything that we wanted to accomplish. This is a program, council, you approved back in 2005-06, around that area. It is very, very popular. It's an ADA compliance program, as you can see. We've expanded this, and currently we're working on Front Avenue, and we've got a couple others, doing intersections on 4th Street, the raised intersections through there. We've got a couple left that we need to get done, but as you can see on the map, it's kind of hard to see, but we've kind of spread the wealth all over in there. So It's been a lot of fun. And then there's fleet maintenance. This is 4 mechanics and a shop foreman. They manage over 450 vehicles, including emergency services stuff. Steve and his crew just do a phenomenal job keeping us moving as a city. Special projects. These are the can do, will do. As you can see, we threw a couple up there, but I don't know where I took over Art, but we're happy to help and do our part, and it's been fun. I mean, it's been a lot of fun. Special events this year was, with COVID there wasn't much there for us, but we've still had a couple requests from PD for street closures and things as they do what they do. Here's a couple special projects over the year. That's us working on the levee when we redesigned that, and back a few years ago. That is the fire trail on Tubbs Hill, where we went in and worked on that. That's been wildly successful. Kenny and others say that they can get right up there now and respond where they couldn't in years past, and it's also used by the hikers to get from one side to the other. The other picture is Unconquered. That's the piece down in Riverstone that we helped put together and for everyone to enjoy along the pond there. This is the team doing some maintenance on the levee. Every year to 2 years, we're supposed to put up the wall. We did that last year, spring before, and floodwaters. I think I looked back here a year or two ago, and if you go back into the historicals, probably since I've been with the city, we've seen 3 of the 5 highest waters on record historically. Or 4 of the top 10, something like that. So, data is very, very much available. Way ahead of time when this is coming, unlike many, many years ago. This crew can put this wall up and assemble it in less than a day. So I feel very confident that will be taken care of. We've actually got a roadmap now on how it's done, and they enjoy it, actually, to do this. Another one is the parades, of course, and again, we didn't do, there was no parades in town this year, but that's something else the department supports. I want to talk a little bit here at the end about not special projects, but special programs. Leaf Fest, I couldn't tell you how long that's been going on, but I've been here 34 years, and we've done it every year.
Really?
We've had a couple years where we got snowed on. There's a balance where to do it and how to get it done, and I'm not going to quote a council member, but I can say that one of them felt it was like watching a ballet of equipment as they run around town, picking up over 1,700 tons of leaves annually, which is followed by a citywide sweep. Some years we get froze at the end, but it's pretty amazing when you go out there and watch this, and it looks like a wreck waiting to happen, and then an hour later your streets are clean, and you can see we're taking the leaves now out to the airport and spreading them to enrich the soil out there. This is a partnership with Kootenai County and the airport, and this area that we're spreading them was an area that they claimed for the Silver Valley. During that time, they stripped all the topsoil off this property to be able to use it over there. And so we're helping there. Along with spring or fall comes a couple windstorms or two, and we've hit a few of those during leaf pickup. One year here not that long ago, we had trees come down all over town, and we're still trying to pick leaves up and deal with the trees. That's where we got a great partnership with water and wastewater to help us out, get this stuff done. Parks out there, any ship in the storm, any port, we're going to find them and and deal with it later. But this is something that happens in this in this community quite often. Another special program that winter. I think I've told your administrator over the years that winter is about 10% of our budget, but 90% of who we are. People judge us by how we respond in the winter months. And over the years, your department has won many awards on customer-focused, friendly plowing. Back in 1999, we started a program with snow gates, and we've used them ever since. Back when we started this program, there wasn't a handful of towns in the United States that were using them. And that's kind of where a lot of this can do. We'll figure it out. We built our own gate, our original gate to put on our loaders, and it was phenomenal. And then you go, well, how can we duplicate this? And I mean, it's pretty hard unless you're a manufacturer to make precise pieces. And all of a sudden, like magically, this guy came into the office and says, have I got something for you? And we went from there. One year, and I'm kind of reminiscing, I can remember we had a gal, it was 2008-9, we had pretty big snows, and there was a gal that called me in the office. She was from South Dakota. She was visiting her family over Christmas and wanted to know about these loader gates and how they work and what they cost and where did you get them and all this. And she talked to me a couple times over the years, and she became a council member. And now Sioux Falls, South Dakota is running 50 of these things, and because of her, wanting to make it better. On a 10-year average, we average 8 citywide plows, 13 arterial plows. Of course, extrapolated out, it's, so many gates and so many miles. But I think what you should be really proud of is the time that they can complete these. It's actually 4 teams in the morning and 4 teams at night swap this equipment, and usually we get back in at 4 a.m. the next morning, we've only got 3 or 4 hours of plowing to finish up, depending on conditions. Over the years, we've had some pretty incredible storms. When you stop and look around and you can put a mark at the top of the wall and say, that's how much snow we had in town this year. Again, that gate is indispensable when we're doing that kind of work. I think some of the strengths for this department, of course, is longevity. They're creative, and they've got the ability to adapt. You know, you throw them a challenge and they're gonna figure it out and go get it done. I think the challenges, like every department in the city of Coeur d'Alene, growth is a challenge for us. Long-term solutions for snow and leaf storage. You know, over the years, our snow storage areas have slowly, you know, kind of gone away with development and/or newer lots or whatever. That's going to be a challenge over time, and I think the long-term solution for the sweeper dumps or tailings, you know, that's something that's going to be a challenge for the department in the next, you know, 4 to 10 years. Customer service, that's something that you will never, ever have a problem with that department. We're going to make every call. Our goal is always to continue to raise the bar, and I think that is something that probably most proud of. I mean, you just have to sit in there one day when it's snowing and hear those phones and the calls you get, and Sue Sims and others are just tremendous. You know, it's anxiety. I'm on it now, or yesterday, and we continue to raise the bar, and I think we've done a great job. With that, I'd like to say thank you. This is the last time I'll be at Public Works, and it's been an honor. With that, I'd like to invite Todd up for a moment and, you know, and introduce you to Todd. I think most of you do know Todd, and Todd Fuzier. He's going to take my position. With that, I will move out.
Yours. Thank you, Tim.
It's done. You'll do a great job, Todd.
Well, that was so fun. I love the street department. I just got to put that out there. But now I wanted to ask a few questions, can I?
Yes.
Because I think this came about as a great educational opportunity for council and the community to see a little bit more detail about what really goes into some of the city departments. But I want to follow up on some things that were jogging
Sure.
my memory. The circular saw piece of equipment that the street department, I think, purchased to
The
set
drainage utility, actually.
for the manhole covers, right?
Uh-huh.
So is that ongoing? Is it working like you thought? And
Yes, it is.
so you're going to give us a report on how that paid for itself over time. You're not. Todd's going to. So I was just curious about that. I thought that was a part of one of the fascinating creative things that the street department was looking, that and the de-icer that's made from a vegetable or something. Fascinating creative things that the community should know about our street department. Are there more streets that are available for people to adopt for litter pickup?
I will check with Kim. Kim is managing that for the department, and yes, there is.
So is
I'm
that
sure there is.
somewhere in the street department website where somebody could
It is.
see that? Okay. And then the traffic flow, this might be a Chris question, I don't know. The traffic flow, we had talked about a few different times, that's an ongoing plan on how the one-way streets are working downtown, signalization downtown, and all of that. Is there a plan that is available for the public to see about, in the street department website or somewhere, about how the street department and engineering is managing that future growth for traffic? It's a question I think as council members we get a lot. What are you doing about how, traffic and congestion?
I don't believe there's anything on the website. I know that Chris and Todd have been working pretty hard with, we've got a grant to manage the signals in the downtown area that's coming forward to council. And in fact, I think part of it was on your last council meeting. It was on the consent to keep moving this forward.
Mhm.
I don't know Chris, if you want to speak to it, but we're constantly looking at how we can move traffic better and better serve the community, but I know it's not on our website.
Okay. I just think it's important to be able to remind people that that's
And I
it's
think
ongoing.
that, over years, we've kind of moved forward. It's pretty challenging for Chris to take on all these projects. We've looked to possibly hire a consultant to do a traffic revision plan and things like that, but we've just never gotten to it.
Okay. Well, it's on the radar. And then, Tim, thank you for all you've done for the city. You've done some creative leadership, some working of different programs that there's so many more, I think, than what you even put in here. And I hope this is a presentation that's available. We got to link it so that some people can see what's happened. There's been a lot of stuff. And thank you for Louis the Loader. I love
Oh,
Louis
of
the
course.
Loader. And
He almost made it in here.
I was hoping to see Louis over there. But now, did you mention to Todd that he's responsible for controlling that last big gust of wind that knocks the leaves off right before it rains hard?
And it starts snowing.
And it starts snowing?
He's got to
Okay.
manage that.
He does have that. Okay, just want to make
Prayers.
sure, because that's critical to how important the leaf pickup is to the health of our lake and our community, and so that's really important that you dial that wind in properly. So, thank you, Tim, I appreciate it.
I have one quick question.
Sure.
We were talking about eliminating an outfall. How do you eliminate an outfall? I don't understand.
We're up off of 95 and Walnut. In that corner, we've got, before you get to the corner, it's on US 95, we've got a catch basin there that
Okay.
pulls most of that west corridor, Gibbs Hills, north and south is not all of it, but it all collects there and it goes into the outfall down by the old Harbor Center.
Okay.
And what we're going to do is take that water and divert it across 95 and put it in that big swale as you turn to go on to Northwest Boulevard. And we've been working, Chris had brought this to council a couple times for approval, and we've worked through ITD and we've gotten the encroachment permit signed, and it's just a matter of finding the time this fall to start on that process. That really, we're going to take the outfall offline, but it can always be an overflow if we get one of those wet snows and rain and all of a sudden it turns to 60 overnight and you got water everywhere. That we're going to keep it as an overflow, but our goal is to take it completely offline.
I think it's a great idea. We never think about, the amount of water that goes in the lake from our streets, and that's what you're doing, is you're eliminating one of those or giving it a.
And I know Kim and Chris are going to bring forward to you some other projects. One down for Sanders Beach, that outfall.
nice.
They're working, collaborating, trying to figure out the best way to do that. Maybe put a swale, somewhere off the Tubbs Hill area to be able to collect the water and keep, that water as well.
So the swale really does work up to a certain volume. When it's just overwhelmed, the water's got to go somewhere.
Correct.
I think that's interesting, and we don't hear about that much. But you guys keep your secrets and just bring them forward when you got it figured out, right? Tim, you've been great. I've learned so much hanging with you guys and riding in the tractors and doing ride-alongs, and I really appreciate everything you've done and the guys before you. You've always kept a good crew. I think Todd's right in line. He comes from your sort of background, I like it, from working your way up, and camaraderie and challenges are challenges, you guys always seem to make the best of them, and we're going to miss you, but you're leaving us in good hands, I
You
think.
bet.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
With that, I think we can adjourn. We thank you for Tim and everybody who's come out today. You guys, we'll see you when we see you. And with that, we're out of here. And good day.
Thanks.